Welcome, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Size Does Matter, How to Grow Your Digital Presence. My name is Eliana Raggio, and I'll be your moderator today. And today's webinar is being presented by DealerOn. And for anyone who isn't familiar with DealerOn, well, we're an award-winning website development company and digital agency. And we're best known for our search engine optimization, our best-in-class customer service, and our award-winning, high-converting websites. DealerOn was named the top-rated website provider by Driving Sales in 2011, 2012, and 2013. And DealerOn customers have been winners of the Digital Dealer Website Excellence Awards, highly coveted overall winner, and unprecedented 5 times in a row. DealerOn is the only website company that can claim that. We're so committed to lead conversion, optimization, and customer service that we're the only company in the industry to offer a money-back lead guarantee program. So, does your website company guarantee you leads? Well, then maybe you should check us out at dealeron.com. And we have a great show in store for you today. We are so very pleased to have Sean Raines as our presenter today. Sean Raines is the true Internet car guy and the VP of Marketing at DealerOn. His automotive Internet career began in 1998 with the Reynolds & Reynolds team that launched Microsoft's CarPoint.com, Cars Direct Connect, Yahoo Autos, and Reynolds Web Solutions. With his unique blend of humor and automotive experience, Raines has become a sought-after speaker at industry events including OEMs, NCM, NADA, Driving Sales, and Digital Dealer. Sean lives in Frisco, Texas with his wife, 2 children, and dog, and he can be reached at sean@dealeron.com or sraines@dealeron.com. Now, during the presentation, if you have any questions, please use the question feature located on the corner of your screen to submit them. At the end of the presentation, we'll answer those questions of general interest. If we're unable to get to your question live, don't worry, we'll respond by email later today. Also, don't forget, a link to download a copy of the webinar recording will also be emailed to you later today for your reference, and please feel free to share it with friends and colleagues. And guess what? Your fantastic friends at DealerOn are giving away a great prize today on the webinar. What is it? Well, 3 of you lucky webinar attendees will be winning a Chromecast from Google. Have you heard about Chromecast? Well, Chromecast is the easiest way to enjoy online video and music on your TV. You plug it into any HD TV and control it with your existing smartphone, tablet, or laptop. This latest technology release from Google sold out worldwide within 2 hours of its debut. You could be one of our 3 winners today, but you have to be on the live broadcast. All you have to do is stay tuned for the details after Sean's presentation, and you could be scoring one of these awesome prizes today. And at the conclusion of the webinar, you're going to receive a short survey. So fill it out, because we're always looking for quality feedback from our audience. Today we're going to randomly select a couple of people from all those completed surveys to also win some Google prizes. So let's get started. Let's learn. Size does matter? How to grow your digital presence. Sean, it is so refreshing to hear a man actually admit that size does matter. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. All it took was, me coming aboard DealerOn, and now here I'm here.
For those of you who don't know, I have been stalking this man for no lie 18 months to get him to do a webinar. And he's right. DealerOn hired him, and the first thing they said for him to do was to come and have a webinar with Eliana. So thank you so much. That's all it took.
Well, it's my pleasure. I've actually wanted to be on the webinar series for a long time. In the industry, I've only heard great things about the webinar series. So for those of you that are taking some time out today, I really do appreciate it. I don't take that for granted. I know that time is valuable, especially in our industry. So I hope I don't waste a second of any of your time. With that, I want to jump right into it and let you guys know what the objectives are today. First, it's just going to be a level of understanding. There's a lot of awareness that I think sometimes we take for granted in our industry. So we'll talk a little bit about making sure that everyone's kind of up to speed with digital or web presence, identifying growth opportunities and options, because in terms of growing your presence, there are several different choices that you can consider. We'll talk about goal establishment. Really, you can't be successful with any of these elements that all kind of add up to your entire presence online without goals in place. And we're going to do some Q&A at the end as well, and so don't be bashful if there are things that you'd like to ask about. I will tell you that I'm a big fan of Twitter, so if you're not, I would highly recommend, if you already have a Twitter account as an individual or your dealership does, that you start to utilize it. You start to explore all the cool things that you can do with Twitter. Today, you can certainly tweet at Sean Rains, the good, the bad, and the ugly if you'd like to. I'm not afraid. So,
and you can use hashtag DealerOnWebby. But go ahead.
Oh yeah, hashtag DealerOnWebby. That's the other one. Down here in the left-hand corner, you'll see at Sean Rains and hashtag DealerOnWebby in every slide except for the ones where my images cover it. So there you go. You guys are about to experience history in the making, because this will be the best webinar you've ever attended. So this is kind of like Babe Ruth's 1932 World Series. This is me calling out the home run in center field. This is what I'm doing. So there you go. What to expect. You guys are, of course, really, really at the benefit of some people that I asked to send in some pictures of recent live presentations that I've done. Oh, wait, that can't be the right one. Maybe it's the next one. Whoa, yeah, maybe it's the next one.
Just like that. It's just like that.
Yeah, exactly. So I have a real effective way of laying people out, as they say, but apparently maybe this isn't what we're looking for. So here's the truth. I've been told many times that I have a way of kind of blending an educational delivery with my own sense of humor. And so hopefully that'll come through on a webinar. It can be really difficult because you can't see my very, very handsome face. All you can hear is my somewhat unattractive voice. So there you go. You're going to probably laugh at a few things that I have to say, but I'll try to keep it educational. I will tell you right off the top that the Seattle Seahawks are the most amazing NFL football team that's ever been graced on the planet by God himself. And that is because I grew up there, and I couldn't be more ecstatic. I'm on a Seahawk high. And here's a little picture from when I was a little boy, because they used to come to Aberdeen, Washington, where I grew up. And there's Steve Largent right there, and Jim Zorn, and their autographs. So there you go. Seahawks, there you go. Tweet that out. Seahawks rule. Go Hawks. Hashtag Go Hawks. Hashtag DealerOnWebby. If we want to understand digital presence, we actually have to go back in time a little bit. So the reason for that is because I think perspective is really, really important when we understand what it used to be and what it is today. It's so radically different, and unless you've been hibernating for the last 15 years, we're all living through this most significant transformation of how communication is shared, how information is shared, the speed of which we have access to all these things. And for most of us, it probably started with something like this. We went to the grocery store, or if you were like me, I received one of these AOL CDs about once a month, it seemed, in my mailbox, inviting me to 1,000 free hours of this wonderful internet experience. And you guys probably remember that that experience was something that involved your telephone and a terrible noise that was made when you dialed up through the modem that was in your ginormous computer. And then you remember that you couldn't accept phone calls and you couldn't make phone calls. And if you were a guy, you were probably doing things that you had to say sorry for or go to church on Sunday, because when you used the internet back in 1996, 97, 98, 99, and some of you even today, but back in those days, Google hadn't disrupted the search component of how people were found and how business tried to establish a presence for themselves. So the search engines were all trickable, and it didn't really matter what you typed in. You probably went to an adult entertainment site, even if you didn't want to. The reason why I share that is for context. I think that we share a lot of content, and we talk a lot about content in the auto industry, but we don't talk about context enough. And I feel like sometimes that really leaves some of our dealer audience behind. We come up with new acronyms, we come up with new little pet sayings and terms, and we never really stop to help educate the audience, which is a major fail on the part of vendors and consultants that are really trying to help dealers. So for those of you that are on the service side of the industry where you serve dealer clients or you consult with them, please stop and help them smell the roses, because they are very fragrant, but oftentimes we're marching through too quickly to tell them what we want them to sell or buy or how we want them to think. So that's important. Let me give you a screenshot of 1997 Crown Ford. This was the digital presence for Crown Ford in 1997. No, it's not attractive, but it was 1997, so at that time it was like, have you seen our website? It's amazing. So cool, man. You can get a 97 T-Bird for 15688, check it out. This was the coolness, and it was at that time. This was really, really the thing that to be focused on in terms of you have to have some existence on this thing called the internet. But even like 4 years later, it wasn't that much better. Here's a screenshot from Bay Chevrolet in 2001. I actually sold cars at that dealership in my career. They no longer have a Chevy franchise, but they still have Kia, and they're out in Norfolk, Virginia. And I will tell you that what's important to realize here is that these dealerships, your dealership, in those years, you didn't have to worry about an expanded presence. It wasn't a concern. It wasn't something that was top of mind, and it didn't need to be, because you didn't have to worry about an AdWords platform in Google. You didn't have to worry about Microsoft Ad Center. Those things didn't exist yet. So optimizing your presence through search and optimizing your presence through social, none of those things were even in play yet. So you didn't have to worry. By the way, little side note, if you're interested in going back and finding some embarrassing screen captures of your website from yesteryear, you can go to archive.com, or you can search Wayback Machine on Google. If you just go to Google and type in Wayback Machine, it'll take you to a link where you can go in and type in URLs of your dealership or any other old websites that you would want to see the old replications of, which is pretty cool. That's where these came from. Here's another part we have to understand, and we have to understand greatly. We live and we have created an instant gratification environment. Not that it wasn't so prevalent even in 2001. I think that we all have been in this situation, and so much more so today, but where we don't want to wait for anything. If you don't like this webinar, but you are obligated to be on it, you literally can pull out your smartphone. Nobody has a dumb phone anymore. But, well, let me correct. My daughter now has a dumb phone because she was dumb with her smartphone last week, so she has been given a dumb phone to replace the smartphone. But that's another webinar in entirety. Your smartphone right now, if you don't like what you're hearing or you think, oh, this isn't any good, you can use any number of these different companies to go and gratify yourself with, I'm going to buy a book, or I'm going to buy a product, or I'm going to search something on Google, or I'm going to watch a more entertaining video on YouTube, or whatever. You can multitask. You can be tweeting right now while you're on this webinar. But what this does, and what this has done, not just to us, but to consumers worldwide, is this has created a place where we don't want to wait. People want things and they want it immediately. And this has also made the internet, instead of these old replications of a website in 97 or 2001, we now have a very complex world to live in terms of your presence. I'll say thank you to Reach Local, because when they made this slide originally, I loved the representation of how this looks. You have to be factoring several different things when it comes to your presence. If you're the dealership down here, bottom center, search engines, of course, are still a very big part of presence, because if you're not easy to find through search, you're nowhere. You're losing, right out of the gate. But if you're not easily found, that's also a problem. And so it's not the internet. Some people call it the splinter net, because it's so fragmented. It's not, I dialed up on AOL, I've got one presence to be concerned with. No, now you have to think about people that may connect with you through a directory, maybe your Google Plus page, through your blog, through YouTube or Flickr, or perhaps through any of these other places where it's review-oriented or social-oriented groups, Facebook, Twitter, Foursquare, and so on. It's just not simple. That creates a lot of complexity for dealers, because most dealers don't even consider what's required to be able to understand those different channels, but then have somebody who can actually help them maximize the opportunity, optimize the opportunity, and then what's required to be able to be successful in those environments. So think about it as a city block. You have the opportunity to own a property. That's your primary website. And some dealerships have more than one website. I get that. That's all great. Think of these other buildings on the block instead of just, well, I've got my primary website. You want to own the entire block. That's your objective, is you want to be able to have a presence that covers as much ground as possible. When you do that, you give yourself the ability to connect with people. You give yourself the ability to find people that you wouldn't have found with only one primary property in terms of your presence. So that said, where do you start? It's so difficult to figure out, okay, I get it, Sean, right? I got the AOL reference. That makes sense to me, right? I get the whole, okay, now we're, thus far in, and it's really complex, not easy, place to start. This is a good question. Before we start to get into the answer of the good places to start, we're going to take a poll question.
All right, audience, you heard the man. We have a poll question for you, so if you would, be so kind, please look at your screen and let your vote be heard. We really appreciate it when you get involved in our poll question. So, the first poll question for you today is, how would you describe your current efforts around building and maintaining your dealership's digital presence? Please select one of the following answers. Is it, we are awesome? Are you above average but looking to go to the next level? Do you feel like you do okay, but you could really use some more guidance? Are you definitely struggling, or is it the last option? Yeah, we kind of suck. We need help. Stat. Whatever the answer is, we want to know. Once we get a majority of those votes in, we will close this poll and share the results. And I got to say, I think everyone must be doing at the very least, they're doing something right. They came to today's webinar, right, Sean? So they obviously know that they're doing pretty good. Otherwise, if they were, really not doing well, they probably wouldn't even have known to even come to this webinar. So hats off to all of you for coming to the webinar and for taking part in our poll. And thank you so much for voting. We have a majority of the votes in already. So Sean, if you're ready, I'll close this poll and share the results.
Yeah, sounds great.
All right, audience, thank you so much. We got another couple of poll questions coming your way in just a little bit. But here's the answers to this first poll question. First of all, 7% freely admit, 7% of today's audience say that they're awesome. 52%, however, the majority, says that they consider themselves to be above average and already looking to go to the next level. 36% said that they do okay, but they could really use some guidance. Only 5% of today's audience said that they are definitely struggling. And not surprising, my wonderful audience, none of them say that they suck. So there you go. Sean, you have a non-sucky audience. What do you think?
Yay. I love it. I love it. I anticipated that, though. I could have called that.
You could have called that one?
Yeah, of course.
Sometimes we have some self-deprecating people in my audience. Sometimes, just not on this question. So we'll see if we can catch them on a later one.
Well, I still got enough Starbucks coursing through my veins, so I'm ready to go. You guys ready to go?
Let's go. Let's go. What else we got?
Let's do it. Okay, so there's 713 or less steps to success.
I don't think we'll fit all that in an hour. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Okay. So there's 8 that I think are very critical, right? And a lot of what I'm sharing with you, obviously, is a blend of experience, and it's my opinion of dealers that I've worked with, that I've done case studies for. So that's why I want you to understand that these 8 pieces, I think, are going to be most important for you. If you're doing them already, then how well are you doing them? It starts with being ready to execute. Don't even consider expanding or even understanding where your presence really is today if you're not going to execute. I'll talk about that more in just a second. You need to hire an SMST. Remember that, SMST. I wanted to come up with my own acronym for the industry because I just didn't think there were enough. So I'll tell you what that is in just a second. We'll talk about setting goals here in just a second, using tools, even the ones you hate, creating content, and when you do that, using a content or editorial calendar, communication, because your reputation depends on it. Measuring, we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about the lather, rinse, repeat as well. So moving into the first piece, I call this knowing versus doing, and I really credit my good friend Kevin Root, my buddy. I learned a lot from Kevin even in the last couple of years around some things in the industry that we've shared a lot of knowledge with dealers. You dealers are on this call. You're here for a reason. You want more knowledge. You want more information. May not necessarily be those of you that are on the call, but there certainly is still a real epidemic in the retail side of the industry where there's a lot of knowledge that nothing gets done with it. And that's the difference between knowing and doing. When it comes to digital presence, we have to go beyond accumulating the knowledge. We have to accumulate knowledge, and then we have to execute with that knowledge. It's very, very, very important. And if you're not there, if the dealership isn't there, then know that that's the first step, is accumulating the knowledge. The second step is making sure really that you're doing something with it. The next part is this SMST. That's your social media stormtrooper. Now, that could be your content creator or somebody who's responsible for that. This person is going to report directly to Lord Vader. This person is, guess what, not going to be responsible for selling cars. In fact, they should not be selling cars. This is the person that gets hired in the dealership very rarely, but most importantly, to have nothing to do with selling cars. Not a used car, not a used car, nothing, but understanding that presence through social media, through web, through reputation is so critical to your business that they are responsible for making sure that things get executed and they're done right. The third piece is then, what are your goals? What are you going to do? What are the things that are really things that are attainable? What are the things that should be goals? Examples of them would be some like this: traffic, branding, SEO, communication, loyalty. These are all really good examples of goals that you can set for your dealership. Should you chase all of them at the same time? I would say no, unless you have a big staff that's able to have these really big, ambitious goals. But typically, it can be very difficult to go after all of these at once. And I'll give you an example of that. Traffic and SEO typically go together, and they're goals that probably should accompany each other in these efforts. Branding is a little different. There's a lot of dealerships that think, okay, we can do things around our brand, this will help around our brand, but what they haven't recognized is they actually don't have any brand differentiation to begin with. And until you fix that piece, it probably shouldn't be one of your goals. In fact, I would submit to you that fixing your brand differentiation would be important before you even embark on the goal-setting piece. And here's an example of that. There are still a lot of dealers that say, well, our brand differentiation is we've been in business for 50 years or 60 years or whatever, or we're family-owned, we're a low-priced leader, blah, blah, blah. Those are all things that are not brand differentiation, but lots of dealers think they are. When you say that, is there anyone else in town that says the same thing? The answer to that is yes. There's a lot of dealers that think they're differentiating themselves, but they're doing the exact same thing that other dealers in their market and across the country are doing. That's not brand differentiation. That's being the same as everyone. And in my favorite Disney Pixar movie, The Incredibles, when everyone's special, no one's special. So brand differentiation, and I'll show you some examples of it as we click through some slides, because I've got some examples of one dealer in particular that I love how they differentiate themselves around brand. But those are examples of things that you can accomplish through your efforts. Then there's the tool selection. What are you going to use? Here's an example of some of the more popular ones and most effective ones that are available today. All of the properties, as probably many of you know, it's free to claim all of these properties, whether it's Google property or around your Google Plus page or Twitter account or Instagram or Vine or Foursquare. All these places are free. It's just a matter of, do you know how to use them, and are they relative to your strategy? So when you come up with those goals, you actually have to make sure that your goals are paired to which tools you're going to use. And then you get into the content creation piece. Content creation, of course, is it's the lifeblood of what's going to happen around your presence, and it happens in all of these different areas, and I put a blog in the center of it because it actually can be and probably should be the heartbeat of what you're trying to accomplish through presence, because it can tie to all of these other environments. What's important about that is when you start to actually create content and push content, there's a couple of things that I want to highly recommend. One is context. The content that you're pushing into the web should not be like a garbage truck pulling up to the garbage dump and just pushing content for the sake of pushing content. I'm sure that everybody on this webinar knows somebody in social media, and I would be willing to guess that there are people, even in the automotive industry, that you are so worn out and tired and weary of this person or this company and the way that they push content out into your Facebook feed or your Twitter feed, and you just literally want to barf. And yet you feel compelled to still, follow these people because maybe you'll miss something. You do not want to have that effect on your existing customers that you're trying to maintain presence with, and you certainly don't want to be thought of that way with people that are not your customer that you're trying to attract, right, through an expanded presence. So be really mindful of that. Be very, very mindful of making sure that your strategy around content has good context. It's not always promotional. It has to also contain a lot of invitation, a lot of welcoming people to kind of join something that's a bigger conversation that isn't always hey, come down because we've got $2,500 off this, or here's the rebate, or here's the incentive. A couple of examples in this content calendar that is on the screen right now. This is a very, very simplistic example. You would probably, as you are going to be more advanced, and maybe some of you already use the content calendar. If you do, kudos to you. If you don't, start with something basic that would have dates of when an article or some content is produced and when it's going to go live. If there's a department that it's supposed to be effective for, who's responsible for creating the content, what's the topic, and then a section for notes. This can actually have more columns to be more detailed, but important for you to start with something like this so you have an idea of what's going on, because you can actually post things with deadlines for people to have content already produced and ready to go. In this case, like for example, on the 11th, David Coverdale, when he's not singing for Whitesnake, he's posting content for this dealership, and he's posting a WRX Rescue the Cop Car YouTube video. He's going to post it on the company's YouTube channel, and he's going to post it up on Facebook and Twitter. There you go. That's a basic example of having a content calendar, but very, very important if you don't use one. So let's just talk about communicating. Communication is so vitally important because, again, this comes back to you can't have a promotional voice and an exclusive promotional voice. You have to absolutely make sure that what you're communicating does more than promotes, hey, come down and buy a car because of this incentive, or, here's a, $12,000 XYZ car. Here's all of our cars under $10,000. Some of that's okay, but that is not what's going to engage people. That's not the kind of communication I'm talking about. I'm talking about, for example, when you want to communicate differently to expand presence, using Twitter like a search tool absolutely gives you the ability to find people that you've never, ever met in your life. You've never had a conversation with them, and it opens you up to an opportunity to create communication and rapport with people that you would have never considered, because it's a non-traditional form of finding a customer and establishing rapport with them. So really important that you think that way. Again, it goes back to why it's so important that the person, your stormtrooper, social media stormtrooper, this person cannot be selling cars. They should not be selling cars. It's almost impossible to be successful with that. I'm sure some of you want to argue with me about that, but that's fine. I'll win eventually, and then we can hug it out later. Okay, here you go. Number 7, measure. Now, I'll recommend that as far as measuring what you're doing, that you start with Google Analytics because it's free, and the social analytics tools inside of Google Analytics have only gotten better over the years. This is only one screenshot from the social components just to kind of give you an idea of what can happen here. To be quite honest, the individual components of this entire webinar of how it breaks down can take far more than an hour or 45 minutes of our time. So I highly recommend that if you're interested here and you're not doing something where you're using Google Analytics and the social analytics tools there are tons of videos, even for straight up Google Analytics, let alone the social side, where you can go to YouTube and watch content there of learning how to do things. It's the internet, so everything you want is there. The last piece here is then the lather, rinse, repeat. Once you've established a comfort zone, you've got to draw that circle of what's comfortable, what your goals are, which tools you're going to use to accomplish your goals, and then you have somewhat of a cadence of how often you're creating content that has context in mind. Once you have these things together, you then are going to continue to do these things. That's a cute face right there. That's worth a tweet, man. Cutest picture ever in a webinar. Boom. Hashtag dealer on Webby, @SeanRain. That's, I mean, Eliana, is that not the cutest slide you've ever seen?
I can't stop staring at that picture. That picture's adorbs.
It's so cute. It's amazing. All right, so we blaze on. So I'm using Google. I'm going to actually use several icons that come from your mobile device. This is the app icon for Google. And the reason for that is because as far as your presence goes, it's very important to realize that a lot of the effort that's happening to expand presence, to understand it and then expand presence, is done by sitting in front of your laptop or your computer in your office. I get that. But the effect that it's having and the user experience that's going on is so rapidly growing around mobile that it's really important to realize that, we're getting close to about 50% of all searches now are being done on mobile devices. It's crazy. And so your efforts are being consumed by people in large effect that are doing it through a mobile device. So really, really important to remember that you're your content creation is oftentimes being consumed by people on mobile or tablet. Here's an example of Google. So very, very simple. This is, most people would consider this is like T-ball, Sean, right? Subaru of Wichita is the search example I'm showing you. The reason why I'm starting here is because the lion's share of your search, what's in the bucket, it is your results, the clicks you're getting, are your name or some variation of it. Yeah, I understand. Trust me, I get it. I understand paid search and search engine optimization very, very well. They are, I think, essential components in an entire digital marketing strategy, but it's not a one-size-fits-all for every single dealership. So what I want to say here, in terms of expanding your presence, this is an example of Subaru of Wichita. Let's just say, for example, they brand themselves really well, and they do. They market themselves. They do enough advertising. The mix of advertising they do a little bit locally in Wichita and around that area that's traditional, what they do through social, expanded digital presence, all those things great. So a lot of people, of course, are going to type in their dealership name or some variation of it. And when that happens, this is when you want to own the block, right? So they have a website. Let me go over here so you can see my cursor. They have a website here, which is, this is the website that's provided to them through the manufacturer. There's an agreement with the manufacturer and a company. It's like, here's the website, right? We've all you dealers know those programs out there. And that's all well and good. It's great. They don't shy away from that. They say, great, let's make sure we optimize the content on that property, as well as the one we really love, which is, this is us, ridehomehappy.com. This is where they give all the super extensive amount of love and attention is Ride Home Happy. So they're there from a paid ad. They're there organically. They're there organically again with their other site. And then you begin to see that the optimization of these properties as you go down the page gets into things that are further detailed around how you optimize all the content of those pages. Really, really important that those dealership and variations of dealership name searches are ones that you dominate in, because again, the large percentage of the clicks that you're getting off of search engines are around the name of your dealership and variations of. I'm not telling you, by the way, for all of you guys that want to like, let's ask about SEO and SEM. I'm not telling you that you shouldn't chase the tail around SEO or SEM, or that is a totally different topic, and I'm very much on board with it. But I want to make sure that you get the basics first, because a lot of dealerships forget this piece and where most of their clicks come from. Really important that you're dominating the page where the majority of eyeballs see you. I'm sure that I've covered that enough. We'll move on to Facebook. So I'm going to use an example of Facebook with the same dealership. This is Subaru of Wichita, and I don't know if you can read it that well, so I'll read it for you. Lori Perkins, she sends a message and puts it on Subaru of Wichita's Facebook page that has a picture of her dog back there. He looks happy. In fact, he kind of looks like he's smiling. Usually created, first time loose in the Outback, loving his Subi. He hasn't met Subi Ghosh yet, though, because he might love that Subi more. There you go. Subi, there's your shout out. I'm loving the rear seat back protectors, keeping everything tidy. Boom. Okay, that's great. You have accomplished something. Number one, you got a customer. You sold them a new Outback. They're loving it. They're uncrated golden retrievers, loving life now, and then they sent you a message for your Facebook page. What's so cool about that is this was just February 27th, and Subaru of Wichita waited 10 days to respond. No, just kidding. Same day, February 27th, they wrote back, love it. Thank you for the picture. He does look very happy. Then she even writes back again, great gas mileage, lots of room, blah, 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 blah. And then a friend of hers, because she's now expanding presence on Subaru of Wichita's behalf, because she's a fan. She likes you, and she was treated well. Her dog loves the dealership. Now her friend is like, hey, do you like your Outback? I thought about getting one. And then she talks about her dog is used to my little car, laugh out loud. Okay, now, for some of you, that's not that a big consequence. It is. It's actually extremely significant, because now you have somebody who's become your fan, and they're actually expanding your presence because you've done the hard work, right? You've marketed yourself. You've spent gobs of money on doing it right. You get the customer, then your salespeople do it right. They don't screw it up. You get a happy customer who gets a happy dog, and guess what? They're your evangelist now, right? This person, do you think they're going to want to buy a vehicle anywhere else as long as you don't screw up the relationship that you just worked so hard to get through your presence? No way. There's just no way. So that's obviously important. Now let's talk about Twitter. Twitter, sharing content, communicating, and listening. These are all examples just in the last few days, by the way. For this webinar, I wanted there to be fresh content. So I had some placeholders that I could have used some other content, but I wanted it to be fresh. So literally, these are within the last few days of me going and doing some basic searches. That Facebook one I just gave you is obviously very recent. Then here's today. Sharing content, communicating, and listening through Twitter. I just want to share with you a few of the examples of what I found when I'm looking on Twitter. Right here you have, hopefully I nail a job and get this Subaru. Boom, that's pretty cool. If you wanted to reply to this person, you could. When you're ready for a Subaru, we would love to earn your business. Yeah, it's kind of cheesy, but whatever. Don't be too salesy and don't be too creepy. Don't cross over the creepy line. And this is the place where you can find people that you can begin to have relationships with, communication. Look at this, my birthday gift to myself, new 2014 Subaru Impreza WRX STI. The dude's got some cash because that's not a cheap car, but it is one bad motor finger. That's a cool car. Guess what? He's got a picture of it here so you could look at it. And then if you wanted to, you could reply and say, Gerardo, your WRX STI is the bomb diggity. Love it. Awesome. That's all you got to say. You don't have to invite him to come in for service. Start rapport. Start a conversation. What do I mean by that? Look down here. That's like $5,000 more for the same exact car, ... But it is a Subaru, wink. View the conversation. You could actually view this conversation, see what's going on in this. Somebody clearly thinks that the Subaru is worth more money because it's a Subaru. That's pretty cool. You could also reply into that conversation, right? It doesn't have to be come down and buy a car from me. And then here's one more example. Clarifying. I loved the Ford Fiesta ST, was so close to buying it. Still love that car, but my love for this Subaru WRX surpasses that. And these guys are followed by Gas Monkey Garage right here in Dallas, Texas. Yeehaw. Love those guys. Anyway, as you can see, this is just an example of I typed into Twitter search Subaru. That's it. I just wanted a few examples of things to tell you guys about in terms of expanding your presence. You can get really, really complicated tools that will do all kinds of things for you, and sometimes that's the best place to start. But the real rubber meets the road when you guys understand how some of these tools work and you start to employ it. That's why this person who's monitoring like a radar and looking for these opportunities, they have to be competent, they have to be capable, and they can't be selling cars, right? They need to be looking in these environments to find the balls to put on the tee so somebody else can smash those balls down the fairway. So anyway, Twitter, I love it. If you don't use it like a search engine, please, because this isn't in any of the slides. If you've never used search.twitter.com, please do, because you can go and find, and again, I'll just use a couple quick examples. All the things that have been going on in Venezuela, Russia, Ukraine. There's massive things going on in the world that Twitter ends up being the fastest voice for information of what's going on, groups communicating to each other. It's really fascinating. It can almost be a little bit scary and intimidating. It is truly an amazing piece of social technology, social media, and it can be very effective for business. So again, just want to make sure that you guys really understand that. Then of course you got ever popular YouTube. I liked it better when their icon said YouTube, but there you go, YouTube. Here's Subaru of Wichita again. These are this is part of their marketing. These dogs up here, they're affectionately known as the Barkleys. How cute is that? The Barkleys. Love it. Now, let me tell you this about YouTube in terms of expanding your presence. It's really important to understand the video content, and you can look to people that are experts in the industry like Phil Sura. There are people that really understand how to optimize video content so that video content ends up being your friend when it comes to search as well. You've probably heard that. I did a presentation to Digital Dealer in 2008 about how to understand VSEO and its impact and the power of it. There's still very much importance surrounding how to optimize video content. Don't just put videos up on your YouTube channel or Vimeo if you're using more than one video search engine. Make sure that you understand how to optimize the content so that it can be found in search, because it's just like a mini website. Each one of those videos, you have the ability to actually set that video up for success or for it just to be out there in the world of all the other videos. So YouTube is a big place because when you post something here, YouTube content can be shared through Twitter, right? It can be shared through Facebook. It can be used on your blog. So video content becomes a really big part of your expanded digital presence strategy as well. Now we have the ever-popular Instagram, at least with kids. I have 2 teenagers. They use Instagram so much that it drives me insane. And yes, Instagram does skew to a very young audience, but that shouldn't warn you. That should actually excite you, because if there's anything we need to do a better job of, it's making sure that we understand our younger generation buyers' habits, the things that are trending for them. Yes, I know that that means that you could get into stupid conversations about One Direction or Miley Cyrus or whatever other garbage they're into. But paying attention is extremely important because their behaviors, their preferences, the things they like, the way they communicate, the way they like to be communicated to is ever increasingly more essential for us to understand because those are your future buyers, right? And some of them have already been playing around with these technologies. They've literally grown up on the internet, grown up through social media exploding, so really essential. What can you do through Instagram? Well, my kids use it like it's their Facebook because I don't let my kids have Facebook. So what do on Instagram? They take pictures and then they post them on their Instagram account, and then their friends start talking, and then they have conversations off of pictures. You can also take very short videos on Instagram as well. Here's an example of Subaru of USA. They post a picture. This is their account. Here's an example of Subaru of Wichita. 712 people following them. They're taking all kinds of pictures and posting them. That's pretty cool. Here's an example of Subaru of USA where they announced the pricing on the new WRX, the 2015 model. They have 130 people commenting on that. That's cool. You get Travis Pastrana, who previously in his rally racing was with Dodge and driving a Dart. Now he's come back to Subaru. A lot of Travis Pastrana fans out there, so now they're commenting on it. They're, of course, huge on the dog lover. It was Pet Lover Day, so they posted something there. And then you have Subaru of Wichita, who posts, hey, our building is pretty much looking like the color coordinated with the weather outside. 6 people commenting on it. Why is that important? Because it's another channel to expand your presence and find people that are either existing or new customers. And then you have Vine, and I'll spend just a short period of time on here, but Vine is also another application where you can take short video content. Subaru of Wichita has been using Vine, and it's actually effective for them. At the end of January, they had their Subaru Owners Group meeting. You don't have to go out on Vine and think, no, what am I going to make on a Vine video, right? You already have it. This is, again, why your social media stormtrooper needs to not sell cars, because that person's going to know, where should we create a Vine video? The person that does this at Subaru of Wichita already knows, right? I don't have to rack my brain. The Subaru Owners Group, we're always going to shoot a little Vine video there and push it out. Why? Because there are people that will connect with them, and they can hashtag things so they can be easily found. Somebody retweets this, and 2 people commented on this. One of them saying, hey, what year is the white on white at the end of the video? Because they show white on white WRX at the end of this little video. Another place for you to expand your presence. Then you get into Foursquare. This is all location-based, so people checking in. This has become more and more popular, and for some, more and more irritating. Personally, I find it to be very irritating because everyone's telling me where they're checking in, and I don't care. Hashtag Sean doesn't care. But from a business standpoint, it's really important. Here's an example of Bob Thomas Ford Lincoln Mercury here in the great state of Texas, 483 check-ins, right? When you establish your Foursquare business account, merchant account, which is totally free, you can put pictures up there, but this is where when 483 people check in, every time they check in, if you want a special message that comes up to them, it can be that. A lot of people will do this through service. If you're actually totally irritating somebody or making them mad, a lot of people will check in and they'll light you up right from the Foursquare check-in. You don't want that to happen, but if it is happening and you're not paying attention, right, you can't fix it. You don't know what's going on. So use this for a positive expanded presence, and you'll be happy you did. Blogging is another huge, and probably the reason why I saved it for the end is because it's so critically important. This is just this week, March 3rd. Again, wanted fresh content for y'all. Another snow, another chance. Wichita's gotten tons of snow, just like all of us. I mean, Texas has got 2 ice storms this week. Can you believe it? All across the country, there's been a lot of extreme cold weather this season, this winter. But it has not dissuaded what they do there, and they use it as opportunity. Every single thing is opportunity in a good way. And so you see this, another snow, another chance, ... to test drive or test out Subaru's famous symmetrical all-wheel drive. To celebrate, here's a poem, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so this is just smart. It's cool. It's giving them something that they're pushing out. It's relevant. It's, you know, it's just a really smart way of making sure you stay connected with people. But one of my favorites a few years ago, I met Jeff Kreider at Lebanon Ford in Lebanon, Ohio.
I love Jeff Kreider. I'm a huge Jeff Kreider fan, by the way.
Oh, man, the guy's, yeah, I'm so impressed with that young dude. I just thought he was awesome. At the time, he had a beard, which hopefully he still does, because beards are just cool. And anyway, I learned so much in doing a case study for a NADA presentation that I was getting ready from him and things that they were doing. And I want to share this just real quick story from a few years ago. They were using content that they wanted to be kind of seasonal. So this whole sales zombie thing, it launched during like pre-Halloween and up to Halloween kind of thing in the fall. And I think this was even before The Walking Dead exploded and got huge. But what they did was they came up with a contest, and they basically, through their blog, and they pushed out this whole message through their entire presence of, hey, go to our blog, go to this link, and tell us your sales zombie story. And then there was a contest involved. I think whoever the winner won like an iPad 2 or something like that. But it was really, really cool. And they didn't assemble all of these email addresses or the people that filled out the form and told their story. They didn't use that to call people and say, hey, come on down and buy a car from us. They did this to establish through their presence. They wanted to continue to expand it, which they did, but they wanted to be able to create relationship and rapport and communication channels with people that they couldn't have if they would have just put up here, check out the all-new 2014 or whatever year it was, 2011 Mustang, right? There's already enough of that. So they're doing things totally different, and they have continued to be that way. They're just very, different, unique. I really appreciate what they do. I think it's awesome. I will tell you this. Another thing about them that's really impressive, and they recognize this from the get-go, was, listen, we've got at the top of us up in Dayton, we've got 4 dealers, and at the bottom of us down in Cincinnati, we've got 4 dealers, and we're smack dab in the middle. And if you look at that on a map, you'll see that you better work your tail off to be able to get some business if you're right in the middle of those 2 cities as a Ford dealer, because in most cases it's just you're another Ford dealer among 4 dealers. Anyway, that brings us to another poll question. Let's hit this one quick, and I'll put it in 6th gear so we can move fast to the rest of the content.
Oh my gosh, you're going to go faster? Holy moly. Well, audience, we better hurry up and vote on this poll question then. It's on your screen for you right now. The question is, do you currently have and or maintain a blog for your dealership? Please select one of the following answers. Is it, yes, we have a blog and I'm the one who maintains it? Is it, yes, we have a blog but someone else takes care of it? Yes, we have one, but no one really. We got no bloggers here at our dealership. Is it, no, we don't have a blog, or we don't have a blog just yet. But you know what? We've been thinking about it. Hopefully, Sean Raines will tell you if a blog is worth having and what the right way to blog, to go about blogging is. Is that right, Sean? We're going to get to that soon?
A little bit. We're gonna have to put the pedal down a little bit, so we
Tell me about it.
Close to on time.
Tell me about it. I feel like you're fitting like a 2-hour webinar into like a 1-hour time slot. So I appreciate the speed. I do. Audience, thank you so much for voting. We still have some more votes coming in. I do very much appreciate it. And also, wanted to remind you, if you have questions for today's presenter, Sean Raines, hey, you need to send them on in, because believe it or not, he's gearing up to get to the finish line, actually. So we're going to get done soon. We're going to be getting over to the question and answer section. So if you want to get your question in, well, you got to get that question in now, okay? Let's close this poll and share the results. Again, audience, thank you so much for taking part in our poll question. So, Sean, the answer from our very interested audience today, 38% of today's audience said, yes, we have one and I'm the one who maintains it. Thank you so much. That's great. 24% said, yeah, our dealership has a blog, but somebody else is in charge of it. 8% of today's audience said, yes, we have one, but yeah, we don't got no bloggers here at our dealership. 22% said, no, we don't have a blog. And 8% said that they're thinking about getting a blog. Sean, what do you think about those numbers?
I think that is pretty standard from the experience that I have at 20 groups or social media presentations at various industry events. That sounds about right. I will tell you guys for the purpose of expanding presence, there's a lot of conversation about whether we should or shouldn't blog. That's why you still have, in the 20 percentile where, hey, we don't have a blog. And you'll typically have a fair percentage of people that kind of outsource it. They have one. They understand that it's important, but they don't internally own it in terms of what they're doing, and that's because it is challenging. One thing I will say about the blog in and of itself in terms of property, there are a couple of different ways to look at it. You can actually, and lots of dealerships use a blog that's an extension of their primary URL, so it's contained within the URL structure of maybe their primary website, and that's not a bad thing. So this isn't, I'm not trying to instigate a debate here. That's one way. Another way is that people actually set apart a standalone URL. Leatherman Ford does that. Ford-life.com, I think is the name of their blog. That gives you another property on the block, which can be helpful. And then there are not many. There are some dealers that will maintain more than one blog property. That takes a lot of dedicated content creation, so it's a bit ambitious for most. But there are a couple of ways to consider that. So if you're not blogging, sometimes the best way to start is if your website provider offers that through your primary URL structure, then that's a fine place to start. And then there are some advancements beyond that. Probably most important is just the importance of a blog is a place where you can generate referral traffic, and that's where when you break down another big conversation, and it's a totally separate webinar in and of itself, but understanding different types of traffic, direct traffic, organic traffic, paid traffic, and referral traffic. Your referral traffic is going to, of course, have the opportunity to jump right off the page if you're blogging and tying that into your other social environments, whether it's Facebook, or probably even more importantly, if you're tying that into a primary URL, it can generate a lot of referral traffic, especially when it's a separate URL. So.
But you know, I have to say, I'm really, really pleased. Basically, the numbers say 70% of today's audience do have a blog, whether they maintain it themselves or have somebody else do it, or kind of ignore it. But 70% with a blog of dealerships, those are great numbers. We're heading in the right direction.
Yeah, those are super numbers. And I will personally go back through each and every one of you that says you have a blog. I will go back through your blog, and I will give you a pass or fail grade. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my goodness, you have the time?
No, just kidding, just kidding. Okay, so are we ready to roll on?
Yes, we are.
Okay, let's do it. Okay, so the next piece, and as we kind of start to get
Sean,
into our home
you really shouldn't have joked about that. People are writing in, please do. Yes, I'm ready. Let's go.
Yeah, I have nothing to tie it. I have nothing, but you know what
I'm sure our bosses are really going to be excited to hear that.
Listen, what I love to do in my spare time, it isn't actually to go watch my son play baseball on his high school baseball team. It's actually to read through all of the terrible automotive dealer blogs that exist out there in the webosphere. I'm just totally kidding. That's, of course, me having a little fun. So, hey, listen, I want to move on and talk about reputation and its effect, right? It's so critical you guys understand this piece, and I know you do. I know you're hearing a lot of things like, Sean, we've heard a lot of this stuff before, but again, some of that knowing versus doing, that's why I put that in step one. It's like make sure that you execute in some of these areas. So let me talk about how important all of these areas are. In terms of expanding your presence, if you do it the right way, essentially your customers will be your voice. That word of mouth, they'll be working for you. Let's just look at an example. Again, let's use Subaru of Wichita. Here they are with a 4.6 average on Google, 55 Google reviews, other places where you can find reviews on them. Great, okay, so very important to be paying attention. Here's an example of some recent reviews, one from a month ago, one from 3 months ago, one from 9 months ago. There's a couple of things you can take away from this, why it's important and relative to your presence. Your presence grows based on people that are interested in, what do people think of you? And there are very few people in our industry that talk about some of the different, we always talk about reviews and like, have you ever read a product review and it influenced you to buy the product? Yes. Okay, well, it's different when it's a review of the dealership, because now I'm not telling you, oh yeah, I really like the Rawlings Velo bat. It's a BB core bat. It's great for a high school or older player, and my son uses it, and here's da-da-da-da. I can tell you all the great things about it. That's no problem. There are no people that maybe aren't following processes, or they shouldn't be working for the dealership, or they're poison, or they're toxic. There are none of those components related to that product. But in the dealership world, when we're talking about reviews, you've got a whole team of people that have got to be singing off of the same sheet of music. Otherwise, problemo. And here's an example. Like Subaru of Wichita, I love those guys. Tom White Jr., Scott Pittman. These are amazing, amazing humans running a dealership, and they've got some used car operations there too. So I can't give them enough praise. But look what's going on. You've got 2 great reviews where people are like, man, this is the best thing ever. I love these guys. And then the third one, which is like reality check or honesty check, somebody had a bad experience in service. Can we all agree that we spend millions of dollars on advertising and marketing and processes and sales training and doing all these things to make sure that the experience is great? And by the way, once they walk through the door and they're interested in your product, all you have to do, I'm a super salesman, is not screw it up. That's all you have to do. You don't have to knock on somebody's door and sell them a vacuum cleaner that they weren't planning on purchasing. You just don't have to screw it up. So all that happens, and we have 2 examples of that being executed. It looks pretty well for Andrew Cranmer and Eric Hauk. Fantastic. But whoever Wichita Keith is, which could be a bogus, you never know. But this person is saying something happened in the service department I didn't like. Is it possible that some of the automotive retail customers are crazy whack jobs? Absolutely yes, because that includes some of us, right? But is it also possible that somewhere, somehow, there's a breakdown of something that happened in service? Would this be the first time that the service department took a very happy, super satisfied, loyal customer and made them really angry and they never wanted to ever talk to you again? No, it wouldn't be the first time that happened. Well, when you're paying attention to what you're doing through reviews and the effect that it has on your presence, you look for things like that. And when you're looking for things like that, you're not selling cars. Again, social media stormtrooper, boom, super important. As I start to wrap this up, I'm going to tell you a couple things here because we're really at the home stretch here. I'm going to bring this plane in for a landing. I bought my last vehicle. I bought was a Toyota Tundra Texas Edition Crew Max Black. It's like, you know, it was my dream truck. And I didn't want to buy one new. I wanted to buy one used. I wanted to buy one from somebody that probably put a lot of highway miles on it. Wanted a super deal. Anyway, I stalked the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex for the right vehicle. This is a few years ago, and found exactly the truck I wanted at Bill Utter Ford in Denton, Texas. This is about 40 minutes from where I live. Not convenient. Many other Toyota Plano is way closer, but they had exactly what I wanted, so I went through the experience. Their presence to capture me was a couple of things. One thing in particular that I haven't even mentioned, which is part of your presence, and that is Cars.com. They are a Cars.com user. That's part of their presence because I found them through Cars.com. I found my truck through Cars.com. So I went through the whole process. And guess what? The whole process was amazing. It was just great. It wasn't because they said the magic words in their emails, their templates, or whatever you want to break down in terms of process. It wasn't because of their use of social media so much. It was the way they found me. When you think back to all those different channels of how you try to attract, acquire, get customers through your expanded presence, theirs happened through what they did through Cars.com, and I went to the website, and then I came in the dealership. They didn't lie to me. They had the truck. I test drove it. I fell in love. Done and done and done. What happened for them around presence was me working for them without them even asking. This is exactly the truth of what happened. I bought the truck, super happy. I went back in 6 months and bought my wife a car there because they were so great. I have purchased several vehicles in my lifetime. I have never done business with a better company than Bill Utter Ford. Just the truth. That's my own personal experience. So how did I work with them? Well, I have posted constantly about my truck on Facebook, on Twitter, Instagram, right? I have put content out on my vehicle because I'm so happy with it and I loved it, that 4 of my friends here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex have bought vehicles from them. Because why? Because they saw me bragging about or loving on my truck, and they're like, oh my goodness, like, who are those guys? Who should I talk to? So guess what? Their presence has expanded because I went back to Cars.com and I wrote them a glowing review, calling out the salesperson by name. Mike Ortiz, he's fantastic. I went to Google, wrote them also a glowing review about the experience. Anybody want to guess the value of those 2 reviews alone? Because they're both still out there. You can go find them easily because they're real, they're legit. Well, we can't really guess the value. But I can tell you 4 of my personal friends, based on what I've tweeted or Facebooked or Instagrammed or whatever, have gone about vehicles from them. Expanded presence, giving them more interest, giving them more attention. It's very, very important to think about all those things through reputation because the 2 reviews I wrote for them, I guarantee you they're like a fried slice of gold. That's how awesome they are. And I'm not kidding. So here's a picture. This is when I first bought my truck. It was kind of, the standard chrome wheels that came with that. And here's a more recent picture of some of the upgrades. They call this murdered out, where you've gone black with your grill and bumpers, and I still need to do the running boards. But there you go. That's what I drive around. That's what I drive around in Texas.
That looks like a Texas car, truck.
That's a good Texas vehicle, right?
Yeah.
Good Texas vehicle. So last poll question, and then just a couple slides, and we're going to wrap up, I promise. So let's hit one more poll question really quick. And the reason why you want to do it is because you can win cool prizes.
Cool prizes. Okay, audience, last poll question is on the screen now. Please vote, vote, vote. Does your dealership currently have a web presence strategy in place, which includes social media and reputation management? Please select one of the following options. Yes, we do, and we're digital Jedi masters. Yes, we do okay, but we still have much to learn. I wish I could talk like Yoda. I don't know how to talk like Yoda. Yes, much to learn, do we? I don't know. Yes, we do, but we're still grasshoppers. No, we don't, but we need to do that. Or, no, I didn't know we needed one of those. Yeah. So once we get a majority of the votes, we'll close this poll and share the results. Again, audience, we want to know if you have a web presence strategy in place, which includes social media and reputation management. Thank you so much for your votes. We really do appreciate it. I'm going to close this poll in another 5 seconds, and then we will share those results and see what our fearless leader, Sean Rains, has to say about it. Right, Sean?
That's right.
You still drinking? Okay, here we go. All right, 30% of today's wonderful audience says, yes, we do, and we are digital Jedi masters. Boom. 48%, the majority, said, yes, we do, but we still have much to learn. 15% readily admit that they are still grasshoppers, but at least they have a web presence strategy. 6% says, no, they don't have a web presence strategy, but they do recognize that they do need it. And no one picked the last option. So what do you think about that?
First of all, thanks for the honesty. Appreciate you sharing. For you guys that are in the, was it 35 percentile that are rocking it?
Oh, Digital Jedi Masters, a cool 30%.
30%, that's awesome. Hopefully the time that you've spent here is helpful. Maybe it just reaffirms some of the things you're doing. Maybe I've shared a couple of things that are helpful as well. For that larger percentage that, we're kind of figuring it out. Hopefully some of these things from even initially an awareness perspective are really helpful. But yeah, I mean, that's good feedback. And for those of you guys that are in that kind of 15 percentile, we got to figure this out. This is a great place to start. It's the knowledge, it's the accumulation of knowledge, and then after that, it's like figure out the execution strategy so you don't frustrate yourself. That's the biggest thing. For those of you that are like, we still need to get going with something, we need to do something, just don't try to jump off into the 12-foot deep section of the pool. No reason to get on the high dive. Start over there with your floaties on your arms and start in the shallow end of the pool, because then you won't be too ambitious that you want to give up or you feel like you're failing right when you start.
All right, let's wrap this baby up.
All right, so just a couple things. I just want to mention to you guys from a dealer owner perspective, this isn't a sales webinar, so I won't try to sell you anything. I just want to tell you guys that there are tools that can be used. What we do with Dealer On for our clients that are interested, the reputation intelligence, web intelligence tool set that we now offer will help you with these things you can see up at the top here. This is just a real sneak peek of the kind of an overview screen, the ability to drill into your visibility, reviews, mentions, social component, what your competitors are doing, and even customized reports. And basically from an overview perspective, you can see what your present score is. You can see if there are listings that are found that might have possible address errors, phone number errors, to consolidate things like that. You can look at your reviews, whether they are for the most part positive or negative. You have the ability to drill into those even to see what's going on in the specific from the different review providers. And then competition in terms of your share of voice online. What that looks like in a little bit more detail, and again, just a couple slides. From a review perspective, if you click on reviews, you can actually see the distribution of where most of them are coming from. In this particular case, you see that it's Dealer Rater for the most part, followed by Google. Give yourself some idea of what's kind of going on from a snapshot, being able to get an overview of what's happening. This is the ability to measure and manage what's happening in this part of your business. And then here's just an example of what it looks like in the competition in terms of your share of voice within search engines, where you can literally dial in and find out what your share of voice is, perhaps around new cars or used, maybe automotive service, and compare yourself to where your competitors are as well. Really, it's just important to make sure that you have something, along with all the tools that you attach to your goals. It's important to make sure, and again, I highly recommend starting with Google Analytics and the social analytics tools, but there are other things provided, and we're certainly not the only ones, but we do want you guys to know that there are obviously options for you to consider around intelligence tools for being able to manage this part of your business. The takeaways here: hire at least one social media stormtrooper. If you already have one, consider how those people work within your business. Is there a way to continue to make that more efficient, the way that those people are utilized? We want marketing people, social media people, reputation people. We need those people that are kind of managing and creating content. We need them to not be selling cars. Really important to separate marketing from car sales. It's one of the only industries where we try to blend that together, and it doesn't work. It's not the way we should be doing it. Second takeaway: begin using an editorial or a content calendar, and don't stop. Really important for you to be successful. Don't just push promotional content, right? Make sure that you're creating opportunities for people to engage that are interesting. I try to give you guys a few examples of that during the webinar. Make sure you listen and respond. Again, I'm a big fan of Twitter, so I would really highly recommend going around, playing around with Twitter a little bit. I guarantee you within just a few minutes you can find things that will be so impressive that any general manager or dealer principal, as long as they totally kind of get what you're saying, and make sure if you've got somebody who's like, I don't even like computers, slow down and let everybody smell the roses, right? Make sure that they understand the value of being able to go and find content like that. Because I guarantee you, anybody that's running a business, if they realize that people are saying that they can begin to make a connection with, it's always relationship before transaction. Always. Even without the internet, social media, and all this other stuff, you always have to build rapport and relationship before this transaction, right? That always happens. So think about that as you listen and respond. And then make sure that you're looking into using the web, social, reputation, intelligence tools. This is a newer component. They've started to emerge over the last couple of years. But another piece of your business where you want to be able to quickly identify what's going on and where you need to start making decisions so that you can prioritize where you begin to execute. That's really important. Prioritize where you begin to execute. With that said, like a fat guy playing dodgeball as far as the webinar, I'm out.
You're not out yet, pal, but I see that you might be spent.
Yeah, there you go.
We still have some more to get to. Audience, if you have a question for today's presenter, Sean Raines, please send it on in. We are going to get to those in just a moment. And before we do, well, hey, it's my favorite time. I wish I had some music to go with it, but I don't. But it's that time. If you missed it at the beginning of the webinar, well, I announced that your fantastic friends at Dealer On are giving away some great prizes today on the webinar. 3 of you lucky webinar attendees is going to be winning a Chromecast from Google. So have you heard about Chromecast? Well, let me just tell you, Chromecast is the easiest way to enjoy online video and music on your TV. You plug it into any HD TV and you control it with your existing smartphone, tablet, or laptop. This latest technology release from Google sold out worldwide within 2 hours of its debut. And actually, it's still kind of hard to come by, to tell you the truth. But all you have to do is answer a simple question about today's presentation that you just saw. Be the first one to write in the correct response, and you're going to win one of these Chromecasts. So, hurry up, audience. Get to your keyboards. Get ready. This usually goes to the fastest typer, so get up to your keyboards. And good luck, everyone. I'll give you your first question right now. For your dealership to be successful in growing your digital presence, you have to move from knowing to what? It was mentioned earlier on in the presentation by your presenter, Sean Raines. Oh, looks like we have a winner. Thank you so much, everyone, for playing along. Don't worry, you've got 2 more chances to win. As a matter of fact, let me undock this so I can see everyone who wrote in. Boop, 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 boop. Let's see. The correct response was doing. You have to move from knowing to doing. Congratulations to Seth Wilson. You are our first winner today. Congratulations. Woo! Seth Wilson, if you wouldn't mind, could you please write on in with your dealership name as well as your mailing address. And we will get that out to you as quickly as we can. Audience, don't worry. I got 2 more chances for you to win. Seth, my friend, you're already a winner, so please feel free to sit this one out. All right, audience, 2 more chances to win. Oh, by the way, Seth is with Duke Automotive in Suffolk, Virginia. Congratulations, Seth. Let me write that down. Duke. I like that name. Duke Automotive. Okay. All right, audience, here you go. Second question is coming your way. And yes, for this question, we need a 4-word answer. Here you go. What is SMST? What is SMST? Oh my gosh, we have some quick writers out there. Let me just tell you, we have a winner. Oh my goodness, you were a quick writer. Tamara Swats was our first person to write in the correct response, which was Social Media Stormtrooper. Congratulations, Tamara Swats. I'm writing your name down. That's it. It's official. All I need from you is the name of your dealership and, of course, a mailing address, if you wouldn't mind. That would be wonderful. So, Seth Wilson, Tamara Swats, 2 winners down so far. Got 1 more chance for you to win, audience. Now I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be hard on this last question. We talked about this, and I was like, I don't think that's a hard enough question. So I'm going to be hard on you. It has to be an exact answer. Must be a 2-word answer. Must be a 2-word answer. I will give you that. The question is, and good luck, everyone. The question is, your content creation must be managed with what? Your content creation must be managed with what? I need a 2-word answer. Oh, no one's gotten it yet. I think, oh man, somebody got it. All right. Well, we do have a winner, and I'm so pleased we do. Let's see. Our winner is Mike D'Amico. Mike D'Amico is our winner. Mike D'Amico. I would have accepted 2 answers. I would have accepted either content calendar or editorial calendar. Mike was smart enough to write in content calendar. Congratulations, Mike D'Amico. You are a winner. Along with Seth Wilson from Duke Automotive, Tamara Swats from, let's see where Tamara's from. She's in rainy Tallahassee at Legacy Toyota. Thank you very much. And she was also smart enough to send in her mailing address, which Seth Wilson still has not done. Seth, you slacker. Come on. I know you're a winner, but I have to know where to send it. And Mike D'Amico. He is with, Mike D'Amico's giving me another name. What's up with that? Matthew Hargraves, Chevrolet, Royal Oak, Michigan, I think. Royal Oak, Michigan. MI is Michigan, right? I really got to work up on that. Congratulations.
Are you smarter than a 5th grader?
I'm not. I'm really not. Congratulations, Seth Wilson, Tamara Swats, and Mike D'Amico for winning your Google Chromecast today. I don't mind saying I'm quite a little bit jealous. I was just talking about this item with my husband the other day, and we both want one, so we just get off our butts and go find one. So congratulations. We are going to get to those questions now. So are you ready, Sean, for some questions from the audience?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, all right. Our first question comes to you from Michael. Michael says, so you talked a lot about Instagram, but no mention of Pinterest. So can you give Michael something to do with Pinterest? I mean, what do you think about Pinterest? Do you like Pinterest?
My wife does. I don't like.
Yeah. Way to go! Way to go!
If you go and look at any of my activity on Pinterest, you'll see very little. Not because I don't like it, and I'm not suggesting that it's not valuable. I would consider Pinterest to be something where if you are, kind of advanced, you can definitely come up with strategies for creating those, folders to begin pinning, content that you think is interesting. I haven't, and doesn't mean that there isn't a dealer that has a great Pinterest strategy that's, they've got some real good payoffs from it. But I don't have an example that I can share with you that's specific to a dealership that would say, yeah, this is how we love Pinterest. So I don't know, I hope I don't disappoint you in that. It's not that I don't like Pinterest and that I don't think it's valuable. I think that the other primary targets have a more clear payoff. and so that's why I highlighted them and didn't bring up Pinterest in this. But I'll use that as a takeaway. I'll do a little bit of study around Pinterest to see if I can find any of my dealer friends that are doing things that they really can attribute great value to it. So probably not the answer you're looking for, but I'm just being honest. I sleep well at night because I don't lie to people.
Okay, thank you so much, Michael. Great question. I was wondering what happened to the Pinterest too. Okay, next one comes to you from Katie. Katie, it's so nice to see your name on my screen again. Katie says, should we have more than one to have different platforms covered? And I'm sorry, Katie, I forget exactly when we were talking about this. I think we were talking about blogging at this point. And she said, oh, by the way, I'm loving this webinar. Katie, if you could write on in and let me know, what did we need more than one of to have different platforms covered? Oh, she said, oh, should we have more than one platform for blogging? That's what she said.
Oh, good question. I would say that first should be a matter of capacity. Do you have the people? Do you have enough people to manage more than one? That would be the first place I would start. If you do, then I think it's a great idea to be able to have more than one property. I would say that if it were me, I would probably only make that choice if I had my primary blog contained within my existing URL structure. For me, and again, this is me, so my opinion, I would want to also have an additional standalone blog, and then I would, again, I'd make sure that I have enough people to push enough content, because you don't want to run into a duplicate content scenario. That's going to be a bad thing for the Google, of course, Plex or whatever we want to call them. So you would want to make sure that you don't have a duplicate content strategy. But in terms of having two properties, it can only be good for you. And again, I'll go back to the content strategy. You'd want to think about the cadence and frequency of how often you're pushing content from those two blogs, what type of content, and making sure that the context that you're delivering is going to be helpful for the dealership.
And her follow-up question was, if we do have more than one platform, should we have the same content on all the platforms?
No.
No.
Nope, that'll come back to haunt you. You definitely, that's why I say the duplicate content or triplicate content, you definitely don't want to do that. A couple of years ago, there were some technologies out there, they would call them content spinners. I'm sure they actually still exist, but they would basically take one variation of an article and create maybe kind of multiple variations of it. You saw this in a lot of the industry blogs where there were some people that are actually quite popular in the industry would write a good article, but they wanted it to have effect in multiple properties. So maybe they want it to be on dealer refresh, driving sales, automotive digital marketing, and so there'd be slight variations of it in all those places. Google's much better at kind of cracking down that type of stuff. So you definitely want to avoid that. I would have totally different content. And the good thing is this is still the internet, so you could literally play around with the strategy that maybe one blog is much more fun, almost entertaining, that it never does anything that kind of promotes, vehicle sales. It's just a place where your kind of non-conventional type of posting would be done, and maybe the stuff that's going to be more dealership specific, that's going to be more aligned with what your sales managers will be impressed with, would be on the other blog, and then test the two environments against each other to find out which one is actually producing, more for you. And that would, when I say producing, it means more referral traffic. If you have deeper linked campaigns where it takes somebody to a place where you want them to take a specific action, that you could literally compare the two in terms of performance against each other.
And Katie wrote in, sounds good. Thank you, Sean. All right, next question comes to you from David. And David said, suggestion, when bad review appears, dealers should reply and invite the customer to contact for follow-up, show proactive response, it acknowledges the issue, and shows the audience that the dealership is proactive in dealing with the issues. David, I absolutely agree with you. Sean, you like that response, right?
That's a 2 thumbs up for sure. Love it, David. And yeah, all you dealers on the call, well, anybody's a business owner on the call and you're involved in this part of it. That's great advice from David. I totally agree with it. Be proactive, not just on the good side of things, but on the negative side of things. That's great. great recommendation.
As a matter of fact, we did do a webinar once with, if I do say so myself, like the queen of online reputation management, which was Heather McKinnon from DealerRater. And if you go to our archives at dealeron.com/webinars and click on on-demand webinars, look for the webinar that we did with Heather McKinnon about reputation management, and she gives some wonderful, wonderful advice on how to handle the great stuff as well as how to handle the bad stuff. But David, right in line with best practices. Good going. Let's see. Next question comes to you from Justin. Justin says, reaching prospects via Twitter. Can you search by geographic location?
Yeah, sure. You can search by all kinds of different terms. It's going to be dependent on what people are typing in. So when you go to, and this is where I would just recommend, go play with search.twitter.com and type in location. You can do, sometimes it's a little scary to even type in your own dealership name. Some people are saying things and you had no idea they were. But if you go to search.twitter.com, you can look up things that are geographically related, brand related. Yeah, so certainly you can go and do that by specific business name. Again, it's just a kind of a fun place to kind of explore. There are tools, just so you know, that when, and maybe you already know this, but there are tools that are kind of used almost like a radar, where it allows you to set up kind of listening intent specific to Twitter, so that you can have specific keywords that would trigger based on, you know, the location where you're at, those types of things. There are tools like that, and there have been companies now for several years with the explosion of social media that are available. There aren't as many free ones out there anymore, but you know, tools like Radiant 6 and Social Bro. I used to use Social Bro. I'm not kidding. It's called Social Bro. But Twitter is really cool. It's not free anymore, so you have to pay for it. But that's another good place to explore using geographic terms, specific business names, any set of keywords really, and then seeing what comes up in your feed based on what you're kind of radaring or skewing towards from Twitter.
I want to let you know, earlier you talked about Jeff Kreider, one of my faves. I just adore him, and I think he's brilliant. Jeff Kreider actually told me a story about how he used Twitter to find a prospect. Somebody had broken down on the side of the road using the geographic location finder thingy on Twitter. Don't ask me how to do it because I don't know. But he told me he used it, and he found a tweet that somebody put up there about how his car broke down once again. He's on the side of a highway. He's waiting for a tow truck. So he tweeted back, "I can help you out. Are you ready to buy a new car?" And so he actually went to where this guy was, which apparently was only like 5 miles away from the dealership, went in a new car, in a Ford, picked the guy up, brought the guy back to the dealership, made sure he had something to drink. The guy signed papers that day, took away his car and everything. It was fantastic. He literally sold the car through Twitter because he saw a tweet of some poor guy on the side of the road. I just thought that was hysterical.
That's a great story. That's a great story, and they've done a lot of great things. They literally they started building their presence. One of the big things they used once they established their blog, which really kind of became the heartbeat. They used Twitter to basically find people to put them in a new Ford for a week or 10 days. I don't remember exactly the time, but they came up with the criteria of how you'd qualify. One of the big ways that you would qualify is if you were deemed an influencer, which meant, you know, you had a pretty decent Twitter following, and you weren't just tweeting, you know, TMZ kind of People magazine, you know, type stuff, but you were just, you know, it's kind of your life in action, but you posted stuff that was kind of relevant. And those people, they put them in cars and then asked them to do YouTube walkarounds, and, you know, it's much more compelling to listen to somebody who's, you know, driving one of your vehicles like that, do a YouTube video, or the things that they post on Twitter. I have a friend here in the Dallas market. His name's Mike Merrill, and he works with, you know, he's an avid social media user. He was, for a time, he was the president of the social media club in Dallas. Well, there's dealerships around here that put him in cars specifically for that, because he's posting content, great positive content on their behalf, and he has such a huge following and a huge network through Facebook and Twitter and all these other properties that, again, that's how you're using your customers or using other people to kind of spread the word. And today that's one of the ways that all of us probably most appreciate learning about new businesses, or at least hearing positive things about dealerships. So yeah, Jeff Kreider, they've done some amazing things there.
Well, Justin, thank you so much for that question. Last question comes to you from Subi Ghosh. Subi says, is he hugging or strangling Tigger? I can't tell by the picture. Either way, I love that picture.
That's a big hug. That was taken the week of Thanksgiving in Disneyland in California, and that was, yes, my family was there, my kids and my wife were there. That's not just me finding Tigger. We were at character breakfast, and I love Tigger. So when he came up, of course, that's just me giving Tigger a big hug, and I thought I would share that picture with y'all because, man, that's just real life in action, right? So I'm glad that she likes that picture. I have to give her credit. She's the one that I showed her that picture once before, and she said, oh, man, you got to use that picture. So she actually gets credit for me being courageous enough to actually put that out there. I'm a grown man hugging a giant stuffed animal.
I love it. She says, she wrote back, she said, T-I double gut. Great job to both of you. I loved it, especially the accidental shout out for loving the Subi. Subi, we love you. Subi, of course, has been a webinar presenter for us before. She did fabulously. So hopefully I'll get her back on the show, and hopefully it won't take me another 18 months to get Sean Raines back on the show. Thank you so much, Sean. That was a spectacular presentation. You can't hear it, but everyone out there is applauding you. So there you go.
Thank you so much.
We're very much past the top of the hour. Any questions that weren't answered during the time allotted will be answered by email later today. I want to remind the audience that a link to download a copy of this webinar recording will also be emailed to you later today for your reference, and please feel free to share it with friends and colleagues. And today's webinar is going to be posted online within 24 hours. Just go to dealeron.com/webinars and click on the link on the right-hand side for on-demand webinars. And from there, you can access any of our past webinars. You can also view and register for any of our upcoming webinars too. Also, at the conclusion of this webinar, in just a moment, you're going to receive a short survey. Please fill it out because we're always looking for great feedback from our audience. Please let Sean know how he did today. Today we're going to randomly select a couple of people from all those completed surveys to also win some Google prizes. Yeah, you got another chance to win something. So do that, do that. And by the way, invitations will be going out tomorrow for our next webinar, Running a Profitable BDC on All 8 Cylinders, with Greg Wells, President and Founder of All Call Automotive Call Centers. The Modern Automotive Business Development Center, or BDC, has moved way beyond just phone and internet. There's several moving parts that need to come together before it can be considered an effective profit center. While most dealerships are finding modest success with their BDCs, many are unaware that there are 8 key elements or cylinders that, when working together like a finely tuned engine, will yield maximum performance and profitability. In fact, the success of your BDC lies in your ability to hit on all 8 cylinders. Greg Wells is going to help you fine-tune your BDC so it's a powerful money-making machine. In this 1-hour webinar, we're going to reveal the 8 cylinders and how they work together to produce outstanding results. We'll describe the finer points of each cylinder and build a master game plan for any BDC, no matter the size or brand of your business. So if you're ready to run your BDC on all 8 cylinders and make enormous profits, well, then you simply can't miss this powerful presentation. It's going to be another fabulous one by your friends at DealerOn. And don't forget, DealerOn's weekly webinars are held every Thursday, 12 noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. And we have some awesome webinar subjects planned for this year. But if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions regarding these webinars and our topics, then please feel free to contact me directly. Again, my name is Eliana Raggio. I love hearing from you. So you can track me down online. I'm everywhere. Google+, Facebook, Twitter. I'm on all the automotive social networks, or email me directly at eliana@dealeron.com. Thank you all so very much for spending this time with us today, and I hope to see you all on a future webinar in our continuing education series. Have yourselves a great day.